Welcome to the Intercollegiate MRCS webinar, and this webinar is being run by the 4 colleges, and it's to let everyone know how it's going to be taking the MRCS Part A, working with Pearson VUE. Next slide please, Alistair. My name is John Hines and I'm the chair of the ICBSE. And I'm very thankful to all my colleagues who are taking part, Greg, who's the manager, and then the 4 heads of exams from the 4 Royal Colleges of Surgeons. We'll be able to answer some questions, I think, at the end, but there's going to be some presentations that are very clear, and I think will demystify what's going to happen the first time we run this examination with Pearson VUE. I'm now going to hand over to Greg. Thank you very much.
Pearson VUE. We'll briefly talk about why we've chosen to partner with Pearson VUE to deliver the MRCS Part A. We'll then explain how and when you'll be able to book your test centre, also called a seat or an appointment. We'll tell you how you can change your test centre booking if you need to. And finally, we'll talk you through what you can expect on the day of the exam yourself. There will be time for questions at the end. Please type these into the question box as we go along, and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. We won't be answering them as we go along. So to start, why have we chosen Pearson VUE? Well, we've chosen to partner with Pearson VUE to deliver MRCS Part A from May 2022 because we wanted to retain the advantages of online delivery, and this includes being able to deliver the exam using technology in the future. We also wanted to standardise the exam day experience for candidates to ensure that all candidates could access the examination in a similar environment and with access to the same technology. This wasn't possible with the remote delivery of the exam we used previously, and we know that candidates' setups could be quite different depending on where they were sitting. Pearson VUE's network of test centres offers the opportunity for candidates to sit an online exam in an exam centre that is local to them, rather than having to travel to a small number of centralised centres as when we delivered the exam via paper. A number of other Royal Colleges, such as MRCP UK, the Royal College of Emergency Medicine, and the Royal College of Psychiatrists use Pearson VUE, as does JCIE in the delivery of the Surgical Fellowship exam, and they have all found it to be a positive experience for candidates. So next, we're going to be going on to booking your exam, and I will hand over to Alistair for that.
Thanks very much, Greg. So I'm just going to run you through the process of how you will go about booking your exam with Pearson VUE. So when you're booking your exam or scheduling your exam, as Pearson VUE call it, this process will start on the 1st of April 2022. You won't be able to do anything before that date, but we'd encourage you to put this date in your diary. And on that date, you will receive 2 emails from Pearson VUE. The first will ask you to set up an account with them, and the second will be an authorization to sit email, which is the email that tells you it is now time to book your appointment to sit the MRCS with Pearson VUE. Once you receive that second email, you will then have 10 days to book your appointment or seat using Pearson VUE's online portal. And during those 10 days, you can cancel and rebook your seat at a different centre if necessary. At the end of the 10 days, the exam schedule window will close, so on the 10th of April, and no more new bookings or changes to existing bookings can be made. And this allows Pearson VUE to ensure everything's set up for you at the centre that you have chosen. So this is how you book your test centre. Let's go through that booking process in a little more detail. So the first email that you receive on the 1st of April will tell you how to set up your account with Pearson VUE. And this will be sent to the email address that you registered with your Royal College using. Following that, you will receive another email telling you that you're authorised to book onto the MRCS Part A with a link to the portal. And when you log in, you will see options to book your seat. When you log in, it will show all of the available test centres that are nearest to you, starting with the 3 closest. So it will show you the 3 closest, but you can also search for other centres that may be more convenient for you, depending on your travel needs and where you are. And we'll show you some screenshots of what that looks like on the next slide. You will then have 10 days to book your seat at your preferred centre. It's really important you do so within those 10 days. If you fail to book by the 10th of April, you will not be able to sit the exam. And there is no flexibility on this. Pearson VUE cannot accept seat bookings after the 10th of April. And so if you do not book, you will not sit and no refund will be permitted. Now the seats will be assigned on a first come, first served basis. Pearson VUE will guarantee that there are enough seats for everyone, but it may not always be possible to sit at your very nearest centre. If you requested a reasonable adjustment during the application process with your college, this will be displayed on screen when you book your seat. Pearson VUE use slightly different terminology for this. They will call it an accommodation. So if you see an accommodation that is displayed, it is a reasonable adjustment. Once you've completed the booking, you will receive an email confirmation from Pearson VUE to remind you where you need to go and when. You can also log into the portal at any time and see that confirmation. So once you've successfully created your profile from the first email, you can then log in and you will see a screen a bit like this. You click on View Exams, which will show you the exams that you are eligible to sit. And it will then show you the nearest test centres to you based on the address that you provided your college when you registered. However, there is a search box at the top, so you can search to somewhere that might be more convenient for you, and you can compare where the particular centres are and choose the one that you wish to sit at. And once you have then booked that, it will tell you exactly where you will be sitting. It will tell you what time you need to turn up for the examination, and the start times will depend slightly depending on your individual location around the world. And it will say that you have been given an email confirmation. So make sure you either take a screenshot of that or confirm that you've definitely got the email before closing that down. If you have any trouble during the booking process, it's really important that you contact Pearson VUE via the website or the phone number that's provided on the website. The individual colleges will not be able to help you with your Pearson VUE booking because we do not have access to that system. We cannot see the list of appointments that are available and the locations. So please contact Pearson VUE if you have trouble booking onto that. The only reason that you should contact your college is if on the 1st of April you do not receive those 2 emails for any reason. And we'd ask you to wait a little bit till later in the day to see if you do receive those 2 emails before you contact your colleges. But the really important bit here is if you've got a question about your booking, if you're struggling to find the centre that you're looking for, one that's near you, please talk to Pearson VUE because they're the ones that control the booking process, not the specific colleges. So I said in the introduction to this bit that during the 10 days, you can what's called reschedule your exam if you need to. This doesn't mean changing the date or the time of your exam. It simply means changing the location. And you can do this at any point during the 10-day scheduling window from the 1st of April until the 10th of April. You cannot change your test centre after the booking window has closed on the 10th of April. Whichever centre you have selected on the 10th of April, that will be where you will be sitting. You should be aware, of course, that if you do change your test centre at any point during that 10-day window and then change your mind, your original centre may no longer be available. The seats may have been taken by other candidates. So just think very carefully when you are doing this. Importantly, if you are someone who has a reasonable adjustment and has requested that when you applied for your examination, those bookings can only be changed over the phone because only certain centres will need to know about their ability to accommodate your adjustment. So please make sure that you do that over the phone. So that's how you go about booking your test centre up until the 10th of April. We're now going to give you a little bit of an idea of what it will be like on the day, but you will receive further information about this from Pearson VUE nearer the time. You should plan to arrive at your centre at least 30 minutes before the start of your exam start time. This is really important because there is a number of checks and preparations that you need to do before the exam begins. And if you arrive more than 15 minutes late, the centre will not admit you and you will not be allowed to sit. So make sure you allow plenty of time to get to your centre. Once you arrive at the Pearson VUE Centre, you will need to go through a number of security and admissions checks. I'm just going to explain those very briefly to you now. So first of all, the test centre staff will ask you to agree to some testing rules that we've agreed with them, and you will need to agree to those in order to be able to sit. They will then complete ID checks, and this will involve a check of your photo ID, and may also, depending on the centre, involve you providing a signature and/or having your photo taken. You will then be asked to store all of your belongings in a secure locker, and this includes all phones, tablets, watches, books, and any stationery. You essentially won't be able to take anything at all into the exam room, but you will be provided with a secure lockable locker where you can store those items. It's very likely that the invigilator will then check you for belongings as well before you enter the test room. And this might include looking behind your ears, they might check your pockets, and they might ask you to remove your glasses so they can check them. We just want you to be aware that all these security checks will be happening. You will then be escorted to your booth, which will be equipped with both video and audio recording to monitor your behaviour throughout the exam. In terms of the examination itself, as you'll be aware, there are two parts to the MRCS Part A, two papers. The first is the Applied Basic Sciences paper, which will last 3 hours. There is then a scheduled break for 1 hour, during which you can leave the test room and leave the test centre and have access to some of your belongings. And you'll be required to complete the ID checks again. That's why they will take your photo and ask for a signature to be readmitted for the second paper, which will last 2 hours, and that's the Principles of Surgery and General paper. You may leave when you finish either paper. You do not need to sit in the exam room for the full 3 hours or 2 hours if you finish before the end, but you obviously are entitled to that full time. You will not be given any results on the day. There may be other candidates sitting other examinations in the centre on the day who are given a copy of their results, but you will receive no results, no score on the day of the examination itself. So you will just leave at the end. It's important to understand that if you do need to take an unscheduled break to use the bathroom at any point during the examination, your time will keep running and you won't get that time back. So you absolutely can go to the bathroom if you need to, but your time will keep running. If you have any accommodations, which I've explained as reasonable adjustments, such as extra time or approved extra rest breaks, these will have been arranged for you at the test centre by Pearson VUE. The extra time will be displayed for you, on screen if you have it. And if you need to take breaks and they've been previously granted and they're scheduled, your time will stop in those cases. As I say, if you do leave the testing room at any point for break, you will be required to show your ID again in order to be able to re-enter. So the exam itself will be computer-based and you will sit it at a computer using only a mouse. There might be a short feedback form at the end in which you can use the keyboard, but everything else can be controlled during the exam with a mouse, and we will show you what that looks like in a moment on screen. You will also be provided with an erasable whiteboard and pen if you do need to do any calculations during the exam or you find it helpful sort of thinking out loud. But there will be no calculators allowed and you will not be provided with any other stationery or allowed to take any other stationery in or out of the exam. There will be a short tutorial on how to use the Pearson VUE system before the exam begins. It won't be specific to the questions of our exam. It's just showing you how to navigate through the exam, how to make most of the information that's displayed to you on screen. But don't worry, this will not count as part of your testing time. Your testing time will start once you've completed that very short tutorial. And finally, the questions will be displayed in a randomized order within each paper for all candidates. So this gives you a little idea of what the exam screen will look like. So in the top right-hand side, you will see how much time you have remaining in minutes and seconds. It will tell you how far through the exam you are, so it'll tell you which question number out of the total number of questions. And it also gives you the option to flag a question for review if required. The question will then appear on in the center or the left-hand side of the screen. As you'll be aware, this is a single best answer examination, so there will be a question with 5 possible options. And then at the bottom of the screen, you have the buttons to move your way through the examination by clicking previous or next. This just shows you an example of a question that has a little bit more information in it. So sometimes there may be more information on screen, such as images or tables, but these will all be presented on one screen for you. It'll be very clear to see what it is you need to be able to answer the question. So that is the explanatory part of the webinar that tells you how to book on to your exam with Pearson VUE, and also how to actually sit your exam on the day. I'm going to hand back now to Greg, who is going to answer some frequently asked questions that we've already had people ask us and send in to us. And then we will start to take some questions from the chat function that you may already have answered us. So Greg, if I hand back to you.
Thanks, Alistair. So we'll start with the first set of questions for our common questions that we have. Can I see a list of my nearest Pearson VUE centre ahead of the test centre schedule window? We've had a few of these queries. We've had lots of requests to know exactly where the Pearson VUE test centres are. Unfortunately, Pearson VUE are not able to provide this for us. Each list of centres is unique to each exam provider, and the exact centre and capacity of each centre is still being finalised. You will be able to see all available centres when you log in on the 1st of April. We've given the address you applied for to your college to Pearson VUE, and they would have taken these into account when planning which centres will be available. Next question is, can I cancel my exam after the 10-day schedule window? If you cancel your exam after the 10-day window, you will need to contact both your college and Pearson VUE. You will not be able to reschedule after the 10-day window. If you cancel, this means you will not be able to sit and you will not receive a refund of your exam fee as per the ICBSE regulations. Next up, what happens if I miss the 10-day schedule window? If you fail to log in and book during the 10-day window, you will not be able to sit and you will forfeit your exam fee. What happens if I don't turn up? If you don't turn up to your exam, you will again forfeit your exam fee as per the ICBSE regulations. So in many ways, it's working exactly the same as before.